Welcome to the Feature of the Week presented by Gamers R Us. This is Alex, and this week we're talking about Jazzpunk. Jazzpunk can be described largely as a puzzle game that is extremely weird and off the wall, wacky in general. It in many ways pays an homage to the older adventure games like Monkey Island and things like that that were equally as off the wall and absurd and absolutely hilarious at the same time. Which all this, comes as no surprise considering that this title was actually published by Adult Swim. Providers of programming like Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Metalocalypse, and other equally hilarious shows. You start the game as a spy, trying to accomplish missions in a variety of ridiculous ways, and participating in really funny mini games all the way through. What's so powerful and awesome about this game is that there are so many little bits to the levels. The objectives in the levels are relatively simple, but you really want to go around and explore, do all the side quests, and just generally have fun with the little mini games that are hanging around. Now, the art style is the first thing that will stick out to anyone who loads up the very first level of this game. Hell, even the intro, which is quite funny, but I didn't want to put up here so that you guys could see it. You should experience it for yourself. Anyway, this is a title that definitely does not look like a $15 game. Again, it's one of those indie titles that uses art style to kind of compensate for what it can't do graphically. As you'll see by this level, the art style changes quite often, and the variety makes this game quite fresh all the way through. The art style, quite frankly, goes very well with the absurdity of the environment and the absurdity of the objectives you have to complete, like being an exterminator and killing these little microchip bugs. One of my favorite portions of the game was when you had to go degauss some pigeons so you could get their pheromones, pigeon number 5, and then somehow end up making a pie for somebody and throwing it in their face. It's quite funny. It just, like, the absurdity at times and the dialogue to go with it is great. It's really, really funny. They spend about as much time on the dialogue, really, as they did on the mini-games. Which, also, the cat minigame, I wish they had this one more than once. Maybe I didn't run across it, but I thought I explored the levels pretty thoroughly. Now, while this game is really, really funny and generally a joy to play, it's not very long. This is about a 3-hour game, and I'm being pretty generous with that 3 hours. And that was even with, at times you have to think about or put yourself in the mindset of absurdity in doing some of these absurd quests. And, there were times when I was really scratching my head trying to figure out what to do, and still it was only about 3 hours. Now, I didn't mind, but some people may have an issue with the fact that this game is $15 and you're basically paying $5 an hour at the most. And while the mini games are fun to play from time to time, this game really doesn't offer much replayability. Once you play it through the first time, and if you're reasonably comprehensive, you're going to see most of what the game has to offer, jokes and all. And while the jokes are great and have actually pop culture references, not just game references, cough, cough, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. And while the story itself is quite funny and has an interesting plot twist halfway through the game, which, takes about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to get to, you'll still be paying $15 for about 3 hours of play, and you can't really replay the game at all. It'll be fun to show your friends. You go, hey, look how funny this thing is, but that's, that'll last for maybe 20 minutes. So Jazzpunk, while being humorous, having actually, oddly enough, a rather interesting story, being off-the-wall absurd, and having all a bunch of cool mini-games crammed into it, you're still going to have a very short experience that's really more of a novelty rather than a full gaming experience. And while it's an awesome novelty, and $15 for a novelty isn't the worst thing in the world, there will probably be some people that have issues with paying 15 bucks for a novelty. So while I advise you pick this up, be warned, it won't last that long.